Hey guys, it's Deborah here, and today I'm going to show you how I did this. So I love printed tissue paper, but it's incredibly expensive, and when you throw in the postage, particularly here in Australia, it seems to be so expensive to actually get it. And even if I buy it at the local shop, it's still expensive for a single A4 sheet of tissue. So I had this page in my art journal and I didn't really like it, and you can see the pink and the orange and the red that's coming through. I made this with stamps and stencils, but at the end I didn't finish it because I didn't actually like it. So I thought what I'd do is create my own tissue paper and with all these images on it, and then I'd stick it over the top, so then I could basically start again. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is how I actually made this tissue paper. I'm just waiting for it to dry. I've only just put it on and I'll wait for it to dry before I actually cut it off. But this is what I used. I just used, my lid's broken. I just used this Liquitex matte medium. I think that that's a pretty good one. And I also used the Ranger archival ink. So any permanent waterproof ink would do. I've just used it in black, but obviously you can do it in other colours. And I'm going to show you now how I made it. So it's pretty simple and pretty cheap if you've got some things already. So I've just got a piece of tissue paper. So this is normal tissue wrapping paper. I've just bought it from, you know, one of the shops here, Big W or somewhere like that. And I think, you know, there's 4 sheets or something like that, maybe 10 in a pack. I don't know, you know, it comes in a very large, maybe an A1 size. So I've just torn a piece or cut a piece off that so I can work with a smaller piece. And I've got my archival ink, and what I'm going to do is use all my stamps, because I have got a number of stamps and I just not quite sure what to do with them all. I only make a few cards now, so there's only so many cards that you can make, and some of my stamps I think are really lovely. I'm really happy with them, but I want to get some use out of them, so I thought I'd try this. So I'm going to start with one of my favourites, which is this pear. I think this is really a lovely stamp. It's a stamp from the Inkpad in New York that I got there many years ago, and I love pears. I've got a few other ceramic pears and things in my house, so that's, you know, something I really love the shape of. And all I'm doing is just going to ink that stamp up, and then I'm just going to randomly start to stamp. Now, the trick to this is that you want it to be random, and one of the hardest things for the human brain to do is to be random, surprisingly, because we're programmed to be, you know, very sort of structured in the way that we do things. So when you're doing this, just don't think about it too much. So you'll notice that on this one, I didn't ink all of the stamp. I've got some residual ghost printing on there, but I didn't actually ink the whole stamp because I didn't want all of the stamp to actually go on there. And I'm trying not to think about it too much. I'm starting with some of my larger stamps. So I've got this little boy here. It's one of the Tim Holtz stamps. And I'm just going to ink him up, and hopefully he'll go down and look okay. I'm just going to try and randomly, now he didn't really come out on his face, but I'm going to try the edge of it, because the edge of this stamp is also quite pretty because it's got all this text and writing on it. Now I'm going to switch to some other stamps. I've got this one here, and all I'm doing is just kind of looking as to where these might go. I'm not worrying too much, and hopefully I'm placing them down somewhere that's going to suit where I place them. The other thing that you might notice is that I'm actually trying to put them all up the same way. So I'm not trying to tilt them or put them on angles particularly. I'm just, you know, kind of putting them up the same way, and I'm looking for spots as to where this might go. And I think, you know, 3 of each is probably enough. I've got a key. Now this key could go either way. It could go up or down, you know, portrait or landscape. So I might try it in the portrait position, just trying not to think about being too particular with where I put them. This one here is a 4-block stamp, so it has 4 images on the one stamp. It's a really good one for that. And I'm just going to try and put some of this down now. in some places, and maybe some there. Now it's got, this one is a compass, so I'm just looking for spots where that might fit up here. And I've got this face, which is quite cool as well. This woman's face is really nice. Okay, and what else have I got? I think there's some keys on there, but I've already got a key, so I'm not going to worry about that. These tickets. I've got these random tickets that I can stamp up both ways. Doesn't matter which way they go. And one down here maybe. I've also got this thing, which is a crossword. I'm just inking up the top half of the stamp with that, so that I don't get the whole crossword there. And I might put one up here as well. You may not use the whole of, you know, the page in terms of that, but I'm sure that you'll use enough. I am trying to stamp to the edge though. I'm inking up half of this, which is a mesh stamp. Just trying to fill in some of these gaps now. That's a really good one for filling in gaps. And then of course my trusty favourite, my Tim Holtz Staples, which is my favourite stamp. Now this is a good one, this stamp, because it'll go either way, up or down, or sorry, up or across. And might be able to squeeze a bit down here. And then I've got some little baby stamps. So I've got this little round Paris stamp. I'll stick this in some of those little gaps where I can see a gap or two. It doesn't matter if the images overlap. I think that's actually pretty cool if they overlap. And I've got this little one, which kind of like a, I don't know, a Roman sort of texty thing. It's a rectangle shape, so it's quite a good one too for little tiny spots. And one up here, oh, one over here. You can see that the tissue paper is coming together quite nicely. I just need to capture a couple of more images, and I didn't really want to add any more images in terms of changing images. So I'm probably going to go back to my pear and maybe put like a half a pear up here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And what else have I got? I could probably put a couple of the tickets across here as well. I've turned them the other way this time. And then a little bit of the numbers. And this time I'm just taking the edge of the number and putting it up there. And now I've got a couple of little mini gaps again. So I might just grab my little Paris stamp again and put it in here. And I've got one there, so I don't want another one there. I might be able to squeeze the key in here if I put the key like this. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What have I got? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So that's, you know, taken me only a few minutes and a bunch of my stamps. Obviously it helps if you already own the stamps, but if you do own them, then why not use them? Because that way you'll create a background, and then maybe you can use it like I did, which is putting it over something in your art journal that you don't particularly like. You can use it also for wrapping paper. If you want to make a really nice wrapping paper, then stamp the whole sheet of tissue and wrap a gift in it. You can also use it in your collage projects. Because it's the archival permanent ink, it won't actually run. I've just stuck it on, particularly with that matte medium that I used. It didn't run at all. The paint on the background ran a little bit because it's water reactive, but the actual tissue paper and the images on the stamp didn't run at all. So I'm sure that you can think of lots of creative ways to use this, and for the cost of really not very much, if you already own your stamps, you know, probably, I don't know, 10 cents or something in tissue paper and a few minutes of your time, then you've got a really nice piece of printed tissue that you can work with. So I hope you enjoyed that. This is Deborah, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.